So here we go. We're going to start off with some before and after pictures. I always like this. And this presentation will be emailed to you by your loan officer. So if you need a presentation or the loan officer's here, you'll get this in your email and you can send it out. So we're going to just start a little bit with some projects we've done. This first project is just a $51,000 project. The house, this is how it looked when they went to buy it, which is fine. It's boarded up for security reasons. It doesn't mean that like something's wrong at the front of the house. But obviously inside you can see there's some mold damage in the basement, water damage. We see that a lot, obviously, in the homes that we're working on. If they're not lived in, you'll get some water damage. You know, you might have basement water damage. You know, there's no utilities on. So they fixed everything. There's the after photos. They remediated all. They follow all the city codes. This project here was midstream construction. So when you have a realtor who puts cash only because the house is distressed, that's actually not true. They must not know about the program because you can finance any property in any condition with the renovation program. So this was midstream construction, which is a great buy because when you buy something that you can see everything, you don't have to worry about what's behind the walls. So this is how the homeowners bought this property, midstream construction, and they finished it up. So you can basically do anything that improves the value of the property as long as it appraises out. And we'll get into that a little bit later. This project here was a bigger project we did. It took an 1,100 square foot house and made it 3,300 square feet. The project cost, now this was a while ago, I am going to admit that because construction costs are a little bit higher now. This one was $290,000. This is not a new construction house. I do want to say that because if you see the difference, everyone tells me that's new construction. It's not. They took that home, they did a new facade on the front. Obviously, they made it into a 2-story home, and they also increased out the back as well. So this property here was court ordered. So if you guys as realtors have ever been involved with title issues, you know, the court may have ordered the back porch, it has to be repaired before you can buy. Like there might be an issue on title or any type of title issues from the City of Chicago violations. We can take any property with violations, that's not an issue. So this actual property had more than back porch violations. This was in court to be torn down. So we didn't know that when we brought in the application. We get through the whole process and we're basically clear to close and we get title because the lawyer took a while and didn't tell us what was going on. And we noticed we're in demo court. So thankfully it was here in Chicago. My assistant ran down to court. He's a former paralegal, which helped. He met with the buyer's attorney, got the judge to hold the order for 9 months. We closed, and then our client went back to court when the home was complete. So here's the before of the home, and it needed to be torn down. That was required, but we couldn't have the city do it because they would have messed up our foundation. They just tear it down. We had to do it carefully to keep the foundation in place, and then they rebuilt a 2-story, 3-bedroom, 2-bath house. This next one was in St. Louis. This is just a very outdated home. Original owner hadn't updated the home in years, so you can see the difference there. Let's go back, before and after. Pretty huge difference. And for the dog lovers out there, Shelly, they do have their dog in almost every picture, which I loved, okay? So they did a lot of work also on the exterior, which a lot of people don't know you can do landscaping, removals of trees, things like that. This next project was in Chicago in the Beverly area on Hamilton. The buyer purchased the home because they had moved out farther and they were commuting to the city and it was about an 1.5-hour commute. So they moved a little closer. He didn't even go in the house, was my understanding. So here are the photos of the person who was living there. The condition of the home was pretty distressed. And there's the after photo. So that was really an amazing project. They did a full gut rehab on that. So how do we get there, right? Like, how do we get there and how does this help you? That's what I'm going to cover moving on here. We're going to talk a little bit about the programs. Has anyone done a renovation loan or new construction? Let's see a show of hands. I got 1, 2, 3, 4. Not many. 5. Not you, Christina. I know you've done them. So there's different programs. We have conventional renovation, which has a little more lenient guidelines to repair. When you do a conventional loan, you can basically do whatever desired items you want. We can address any city violations, and if there's like a kitchen missing, of course we're going to have to put that in. So anything that makes it habitable is fine. So there's 2 kinds of conventional loans, Fannie Mae renovation loan and then Freddie Mac renovation loan. We also have the FHA 203K, which is the most commonly heard of renovation loan. Like Everyone calls me and says, I need an FHA loan, and then they tell me they have like 840 credit and 20% down. Well, you don't want to go FHA, we're going to go conventional, but a lot of people have only ever heard of this FHA. So what we do is your loan officer will take in the application, take in your client's information, then they'll say, hey, Chris, I'm their partner, whatever loan officer's here, I work for them. They'll say, we have a file, they're interested in doing reno. I try to say, I have a questionnaire, there's some, I threw them on the table, they're not everywhere, but it's a little questionnaire I send like, what do you think you want to do? You want to buy a 2-flat? What kind of price point? Is it going to need major work or minor work? So we get a starting point with your clients, get them approved, find out do they have assets. The one thing I'm really good at is math, and I need to be good at math with this program because they have higher closing costs, higher fees. You're getting an architect. You might pay a point because it's construction. I'm often doing seller credits, tax proration. I'm like inking out every little penny I can to help your clients get to where they need to be. And we can also roll in mortgage payments. So we'll talk about that too. So we have a 203K, which is the FHA loan. There's 2 program names. You don't have to remember all this. I'm just trying to introduce you to this. So if you hear it, you're a little more dangerous. But FHA has a limited rehab loan, which is very simple cosmetic work up to $28,000. No structural. If you do that, you don't need what's called a HUD consultant, and I'll explain his role in a minute. We also have the FHA 203K standard rehab loan. That loan's for anything over $28,000 or anything structural. So I've had a client just do a staircase and redo their hardwood floors. The work was only $25,000, but we had to get a consultant because there was structural work due to the staircase. So I figure out what program they need, what guidelines it'll follow. The next program we have is the VA renovation loan. If anyone works with veterans, this is an amazing program because sometimes it's harder for their offers to get accepted as they adhere to a little bit more stringent guidelines for the appraisal if you've ever worked with veterans or had a VA loan come back with the appraisal having some issues. We can do, for the veterans, we can repair any of the things that are called out on the appraisal so that the seller doesn't have to worry about that. So that is the benefit of offering with a VA reno. Hey, I'm a seller, I don't want VA, appraisal issues. We can fix it all. We have $50,000 to fix anything wrong with the house. You don't have to fix anything. Take our offer. They served our country. That's how we approach it. So if you have veterans, we can take up to $50,000 to repair anything that does not pass the appraisal and do any desired work they want. That's allowed. And then if anyone deals with HUD REOs, this program from 203K, that's the FHA program, they allow $100 down. That's our lowest down payment besides the zero down VA. $100 down on any HUD-owned home. So if there's, on HUD, a lot of my savvy clients go on the HUD site, look at the HUD homes, they go offer, they can put $100 down, they can get a seller credit, so they basically buy a house with no money. So it's a pretty amazing program. And then all of these programs, the buyer does have to need to live in the property for 1 year, okay? Now, the next things are a few just guidelines I want to talk about, meaning, hey, can we do this on a purchase or a refinance? Yes. And that's important because I've had some realtors tell me, hey, thanks for talking about that. I had a client who's going to sell in a few years. Their kids are leaving the house. They want to fix it up and enjoy it, and then they're going to sell. Well, we were able to help them with the reno. 3 years later, the agent got the listing, and the home was beautiful. It sold in like a day. So just trying to think outside the box to help you guys add value to your clients. So this can be done on purchase or refinance. It is one loan. It's not 2 loans. It's not buy the house and get the reno work. It's one loan. So when I talk about reno and I say, oh, how much is the house? And people are like, oh, $200,000. And I'm like, okay, you need 5% down. But I'm like, how much is the work? And they're like, $100,000. So they'll get told, unfortunately, which I say realtors never tell people about their finance, let the loan officer be the person. They'll be like, well, my realtor said I only need 5% down. Well, yeah, if you're buying a move-in ready, you do. But on reno, it's total acquisition. It's purchase price plus the rehab. So on that example, I needed $15,000 down, not 10. Of course, they didn't have it, so we had to pivot, get some seller concessions, get a gift from family. So just be careful with that. We do total acquisition. That's how it is on new construction as well. So we also utilize what's called a HUD consultant, and I'll explain his role in a little bit. And then no work is started until you close on the loan because your new buyer has to then obtain permits with their contractor, and then they become the owner of the home. We do get everything ready prior to closing, and I'll go through that in a little bit. And then the biggest question I get is that how do you pay, if you're doing a gut rehab, it's going to take 6 months, and you have a home that you're going to sell in 6 months, how do you afford both payments? Well, you can roll in up to 6 months of mortgage payments on the new construction, the rental that you're doing, okay? It's not automatic though. That one thing please take away, because I had a realtor tell someone, it's automatic. It's not. You can roll up to 6 months payments if the appraised value supports it, okay? Most of the time it does, but I've had issues when the market 2 years ago was kind of going faster than the values where we weren't able to roll them all in. But I'll roll whatever we can in so you won't have any financial hardship during the process. So for the 203K standard, limited for the home style, there is now money up front for the general contractors. That is definitely something that was not available like 4 years ago. They changed it. It's really helped open up more contractors to come in. They get 50% of material funds up front. It goes to the vendor. I do want to say that because some people, realtors, if you have GCs, you can refer GCs. Or if you are a GC, I know that sounds crazy, but I have realtors who are GCs who are doing these. 50% of the money will go directly to vendor to buy the cabinets for the house, flooring, windows, etc. So on these programs, the borrower can be their own GC if they're licensed or in the trades. Okay, architect, engineer, if you're a carpenter, electrician, those are all considered in the trades. You can be your own GC on the program. On our conventional, family members can also be the GC, that's allowed. But on FHA 203K, they do not allow family members to be a GC. Technically on FHA 203K, you can't be the realtor either if you're helping a family member. So I do have a lot of people who want to help their sisters, brothers, kids. I just say, just make sure your broker owner or partner, like someone else has to be on the contract, not you if you're related. FHA has what's called an identity of interest. They just, while it's an amazing program, they don't want like realtors strong-arming their family into doing it. That's the reason behind it. There's always a reason for their rules, right? But it's such a phenomenal program, and if my realtors understand it, it's a great way to house hack, and we're going to get into that. I have one slide that is really amazing talking about how we can utilize this for your buyers. But the biggest takeaway is there is going to be some money for your contractor. We have a lot of landlords who have tenants, and let's say you want to sell your house, even if you're investors your own self, and you have a tenant, they can buy your property using the 203K. Okay, so tenant can buy from the landlord. Let's move on here. So right here is just a little chart. I only put it up because there's different rules where people are like, oh, I need to put 20% down, I'm buying this. Recent change in November, which I think everyone probably got 4,000 emails and it's on TikTok, was the 5% down multi-unit, 2 to 4 unit purchase. Conventional 5% down is offered on Fannie Mae. We have a phone going off, it's okay, no problem. So anyway, 5% down on Fannie Mae. That is for 2 to 4 units on the renovation program. So let's say you bought a 3 unit for $700,000, it needs $200,000 worth of work. We're all into it for $900,000. 5% down, $45,000. Why is that so important for us? The only program I had prior to November 18th of 2023 was FHA. FHA has a self-sufficiency test. If you as a realtor do not know what I just said, stop. Don't read your phone, just take 1 minute. FHA, if you ever have a buyer or are bringing in, you have a seller, and you're selling a 3 or 4 unit, does every realtor know what the self-sufficiency test is on FHA? Okay, because it will kill your deal really fast. How? Why? What is it? FHA 203K 3 unit. The market rents, or any FHA, let me talk both. Any FHA loan, you got an FHA buyer buying your building. I'll use a 3 flat in Chicago, $600,000. The rents are $2,000, $2,000, and $1,000 for the garden. It's $5,000. The mortgage payment is $6,000. You have to take 75% of the $6,000 of the mortgage payment. Whatever that number is, if it does not exceed the rent, they decline it. It's an automatic decline, period. No exception. It's like, oh no, get an exception. There is none. It's a black and white hard code rule. So the biggest thing I could say is if, as a realtor, you don't know that and you're gonna take an FHA offer, ask your loan officer, even though it might not be their loan officer, to run the numbers. If they don't work, you can't take that offer. you'd have to go conventional. So I'm just bringing that up as housing prices rose, the rents were not keeping up with the real estate taxes, the home insurance has doubled. So we're having a hard time passing that. The conventional loan has solved that problem, but you do need 700 credit score. On FHA, on 3 and 4 unit, you can go down to like 620. We make exceptions to 580. So it's a fine line of what I'm threading through the needle here. Can I go conventional? Do I have to go FHA? Can I pass self-sufficiency? So these aren't the walk in the park, which is why you're all here. You're all like, how do I do these? I closed, oh my God, what year are we in? I'm looking at my assistant, Jen, 13 years here. I mean, we usually close about 120 to 150 a year, meaning just me and my partner here, through all of you guys. So we will make sure your clients are approved. We have to do a way higher level of approval. You know, when you get that letter generated, whatever, like, oh, here's my pre-approval. That is not me. It's like, if I don't have your tax returns, your assets, every single thing on Reno, I'm not actually even going to send you a letter. Well, why? I want to get the offer in. Because once that offer is accepted, the first fee they pay is my HUD consultant, and that's usually at least $1,000, could be as high as $3,500. I would really like to know that you're approved before you're going to spend that kind of money. Because guess who's going to be asked for a refund if they don't send their docs in on time? Me. Well, you should have told me I wasn't approved. Well, I didn't have your docs. So I don't send a pre-approval without docs. That's one of my rules. So basically this, when we send this out, it's just going to show you really quickly what you can do. Like, oh, 5% down. Oh, I can do 3.5. I can do a second home. I can't do. So it's going to be a little guide for you. I won't spend any time on it, but it'll be in the information that we send to you. Okay? So when we do this renovation loan, a lot of people think it's income-based. It's not. Any income, any person, it doesn't matter. There's no census tract. We don't do any of that. It's just pure renovation. We don't combine renovation, though, with any fancy programs. So I really can't do a borrow with no money down unless they're VA, right? I can't do the IDA grant. I can't do City of Chicago tax. I can't do any of that. It's just purely whatever your buyer and I can work out. Seller credit's allowed. Gift for funds is allowed. That's it. We might get one small grant program for this for $2,500, but I don't even want to rely on that because they keep telling me we're going to get stuff like that, and we don't. So it's definitely what we can do with the client. So we can go down to 580 credit score. The rate is usually a little bit higher, but the key is that we've been having to charge like a 1% discount fee. That's because it's construction. That's because it's more risk for the company to do these type of loans, okay? Not all of them go perfect, obviously, and then we have to get involved, and if there's any losses as a company, we have to absorb it. So we will work with your client, get them pre-approved. I send you a pre-approval letter. It will have all the instructions you need because it's not a normal offer. You're not going to be like, hey, 5-day attorney inspection, you know, 300 grand, 5% down, we'll close in 10 days. No, that's not me. No. So we're 45 days if there's not structural work or where you don't need an architect. If it's just cosmetic, 45 days. If you need an architect, if you're doing any room change, it's going to take 60 days. Okay? These programs are for owner-occupied residents, 1 to 4 unit. Second home we can do 1 unit investment, not flip, but we're hoping to open up a fix and flip. We are working on signing up with an investor for that and also an investor for multi-unit. And when I say that, we do investor for 1 unit, but not multi-unit yet. These are the loan limits in Chicago. So when people say, well, why do you pick this loan versus that loan? It depends on loan limit, because you can see there's a big differential between the single family limits right here, 2, 3, and 4. I mean, I can do a 1.5 million loan almost on a 4 unit versus just under $1 million for FHA, okay? So that sometimes dictates what program we're going to work with. And then we have some high cost area, which that's not us here. So these programs here, the HUD consultant, people go, well, what is that? It's going to be your client's best friend. I do refer the consultant because there's a lot of bad ones out there. So we have a really good one we've worked with for years. That's the first person I need. And I do want to say as realtors, if it's a gut rehab, if you know your client's like buying a pretty distressed house, don't waste money on an inspection. If you want to do a sewer scope, great, but you don't need a home inspector because we're going to just rehab the whole house and our guy is going to give them the cost of that. And I don't know what the inspectors are running nowadays. Is it like 600? I'm looking at some agents, yeah? More than that, or 6, 7? Like multi-unit, could it be higher than 600? Yeah. So I mean, you're going to pay the consultant, and I'm going to show you his fee schedule in a second. I don't want the home inspection at least until we get the consultant report. If they want a home inspection, then they can do that. I want to make sure they're going to go forward because unlike HDTV, we're getting real numbers, and we are in the real world, okay? So you can't do a gut rehab for $100,000 in 30 days. So we do have a lot of people who Google, and I got to tell you, I mean, does anyone think you can do an addition for $100,000? An addition, a 4-bedroom, one bed? No. But someone Googled that and called me. I'm like, that's fake news, right? So when they call me, the good thing is I know enough to be dangerous. If they say addition, I just had a woman, she's like, we want to refi and do this, and I'm like, it's going to be $290,000. She's like, what? She's like, no, I thought like 150, but no, it wasn't. And we kept going back and forth. We're going to do a little bit different than an addition. She's going to just probably finish her basement and add the bedroom she needs for her kids. But that's the reality check, is we try to make sure your clients go in with eyes open. But the consultant will come out and meet with your client. It's required on all of our loans with any work over $28,000 for FHA and over $50,000 for conventional. But honestly, they should all use him on any loan. Here's why. Helps get your contractor paid faster. He knows how to get the draws submitted. He knows how to help, questions, try to mitigate issues between the client and the contractor if he can. I mean, he can't always, but he tries. So that's his role. And then he goes out to the site. He's going to take about a week to deliver a report. It's a 35-point report. It talks about everything from roofing to electrical to plumbing to kitchens, bathrooms, garages, anything they want to do. And he delivers the report. Our attorney inspection period we need is 15 days. Why? Because he needs a week to do the report. It typically takes me 2 to 3 days to get him there. So on day 10, I'm getting the report, which only gives us a couple days to talk about it, and then try to get the credit, credit from seller, decide if we're moving forward, canceling, et cetera. So he'll get the report. Then he stays with it. If your client goes forward, he's with you the whole way. He's going to do the draw inspections. He's going to help get your contractor paid. He's going to do the closeout inspection. So that's his role, is to stay with you. Change orders. Hey, we open up a wall. There's something wrong here. Okay, let me come out. Or they'll send him pictures, and he'll say, yep, we need a change order. We need to reinforce that. So that's his role during the process. So here's the fee schedule. So for FHA, they get a little bit of a break on the fee schedule. It hasn't been updated in, I think, 90 years. So they still get paid very little to do these write-ups on FHA, and there's your schedule. Any project over $100,000, the max you're going to pay is $1,000. So it's very nice for FHA clients. On our conventional, they can actually set more realistic numbers because the conventional reno does not have the guidelines of FHA. So the fee schedule is a little bit more unconventional because they're allowed to charge normal market prices. And then let's talk about, for you guys, what can we do house hack? Number one, if I had younger clients who want to become investors who are savvy, because I have a 27-year-old I'm working with, he's amazing. He wants to do a 4-unit, first-time buyer, 5% down. Live there a year after construction's done. Then he wants to do another one. That's totally allowed. That's why I'm here to teach you what can I do to help my clients in this market. This is one thing you can do for younger or more savvy. It does have to be their primary residence, but that's why it's great for a young buyer. He's single, he's 27, he's like, great, do a couple of these, get my portfolio together, and then he'll go buy a single family home once he settles down. So you can also use this program for ADUs. And why I'm bringing that up, in Chicago, everybody's got basements. If they have the 7-foot ceiling, you can make that an ADU. An ADU or DADU. ADU is accessory dwelling unit. DADU just means detached, like where they're going to build it behind. That's allowed. So let's say you're buying a single family home and there's a garage in the back and you want to put a coach house there. You can do that, okay? That could become rental income for you. I can't use the income to qualify you, but it's a great way to house hack to maybe get more rental income to help you afford the home. Because right now, obviously, home prices are higher, rates are higher, but if they buy now and they can do this house hack, as rates go down, you've secured your purchase price. So DADU or ADU can be used. In Chicago, if you have an attic, it has to have 2 egresses. You have to have an entrance and an exit, but it's pretty easy on a lot of the garden units, and you can waterproof the garden unit with the renovation loan. You can dig out, you can do the sump pump, the drain tiles, battery backup, et cetera, and then you can complete the ADU unit. So that is completely allowed here. Sometimes the rental count on Freddie Mac, but just on ADU units, so there's some guideline issues, not that you need to know them, but I do. Fannie Mae allows for ADU just on 1 unit. Freddie Mac allows for ADU on 2 and 3 units. So total number of units can only be 4. So someone asked me, can I do a 4-unit with an ADU? I said, no, that becomes 5. So the cap is going to be at 4. Freddie Mac does not allow 5% down, though, on the multi-unit. So if you're doing a 2-unit and you want to do an ADU, the only way I can do it is through Freddie Mac, and they have the 20% down. If you're doing a single family and you want to do an ADU, which is what I'm doing a lot right now, that would be Fannie Mae's program, and that's 5% down. So the DADU and ADU, I'm doing a ton of them right now, just because people want additional income to help pay for their properties. Also, you live in the house for a year, then if you move out, you can do another one. I keep bringing that up because it's an interesting way to maybe build a portfolio. Prior to the 5% down option, your option was 20 to 25% down. So it'll be a good way for people to get into the homes. 5% down, we keep mentioning that because since that rule went into effect, we've done about 8 multi-units through the conventional program. The people did not realize they can renovate with the 5% down program, so we just want to stress that that's available. It does require a 700 credit score. That's the one thing that they're pretty strict on, and they have to have 6 months reserves, okay? So I just mentioned that because if they don't, I can flip them to FHA, see if it passes self-sufficiency, or we try to figure out when they'll qualify. Now, the 3.5% down for FHA, you can also do an ADU only on a 1-unit property. FHA, if you guys, I'm going to go back to realtor like FHA. Yeah, they're a little bit harder to deal with, but if you know what you're dealing with, you can still sell your property. So why? Well, FHA doesn't like peeling paint. They don't like missing handrails. But if you have a seller who's like willing to maybe put a couple thousand into it, just fix those little items and you can take an FHA deal all day and maybe get more money for it. So, never keep it out of sight. Just know that you might have to do a few things. Now, if the house is distressed, like I have a house right now that an agent called me and sent me pictures. I'm like, yeah, that's not going to pass FHA. It's just not. There's doors missing and just, some peeling paint, so it's just not going to work. But FHA, we can fix everything on the house as well, okay? So obviously, low down payments is a way to help your clients get into the properties. What about if your buyer, I don't know, do you guys have buyers drag you, like you're on your 50th showing, you're like, no house works. Like everything's got a problem. Use this. What's the problem with this house? I don't like the kitchen and the dining room. They don't open up. Oh, good, I got a renovation loan. I had an agent who showed a client, she was 28 houses. And she came and watched the presentation, and she goes, thank you. I go, what? She goes, you just saved my life. Second house after she came here, she explained to the woman, this is what you can do. They got a house, the second house, and they fixed it to what the woman wanted. So it mitigated a problem where the woman wanted to be in a certain school district, but none of the houses were working. So if you're in a certain school district or you want to live near your parents because they're going to help care for your child, but inventory is tight, use this. If they can't get the cheapest house in the neighborhood. In fact, it's always great if you get the cheapest house in the neighborhood. It appreciates. So that's something to think of. If you have a buyer, maybe the house doesn't have a garage. Well, look at the houses without a garage. I can build a garage. I can do an addition. I can, build a back deck. We can cut down trees, landscaping. You can do anything to a property. I can do an in-ground pool if it adds value. I do them in Arizona, Florida all the time, okay? So as long as it adds value. On the listing agent side, do you have distressed homes? Do you have a HUD home? You can do $100 down on the HUD with the reno. Do you have any estate sales? Do you have outdated homes? Anything like that, you can list, in the remarks, hey, bring your ideas, bring your contractor. This home qualifies for renovation. We'll give you the presentation. Put out some before and after pictures. I think if you set them there, people don't know what they can't see, right? Or they don't know what they don't know, actually. This is an example of a realtor who put, hey, bring your, I think architect, contractor, architect, make an investment in this property. At least they're telling, when you put that and you're going to bring your agent, you might know, well, okay, this might need work. Instead of them walking in and going, oh my God, what did I just step into? At least you're mentioning that it needs work, it qualifies for renovation. So hopefully this is going to help you, do more transactions. I'll leave you with a story that we had 3 siblings recently. Mom and dad passed. They're selling an estate sale. It has a pink bathtub. It's really nice, yellow tile. I grew up in a house like that. So first agent comes in, oh, this is going to be hard to sell. It's not been updated, blah, blah, blah. That's not good. Second agent, kind of the same thing. Third agent comes in, oh, I just sat at this presentation. You know how we're going to market this? We're going to get as much money as we can by saying that we will help them with this renovation loan. They can make it their own. They can design it their own. So instead of a negative, they turned it into a positive. Guess who got the listing? Our agent. So if this helps you, even in listing presentations, just separate yourself. Maybe that one nugget separates you from another agent they talk to. and you can get that listing. So hopefully that'll help you, you know, and if you're listing agent, REOs, short sales, outdated properties, any property, no, we don't need electrics turned off, water's turned off, pipes are frozen, the roof has a tarp. No property condition is a problem for us. There can be water in the basement. I've had 2 feet of water in the basement. We mitigated it. We drained it, drain tile, sump pump, battery backup, got rid of all the mold, cut the drywall out. We had a house that had $17,000 of mold in it. I mean, we mitigate everything, so it's not an issue. It doesn't matter the condition of the property.